Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Swami Army preview of India versus UAE. Now, what a great performance India has come off against South Africa last weekend at the MCG. Very, very consistent performance, a very satisfying performance from Team India and the fans' perspective, and really good to see Team India doing really well against probably the World Cup, one of the big World Cup favourites. It was almost very much a one-sided game. India completing the victory by 130 runs quite convincingly in the end. Now, as always, joining us for our preview of this game is Cricket Info's Abhishek Purohit. Abhishek, welcome to you.
Thank you, Karthik. Glad to be back, as always.
Fantastic, always glad to have you. And another person we're always glad to have is Gaurav Joshi. Gaurav, welcome to you.
Hey, Karthik.
Good to have you on, boys. As I said, India, a very convincing win against South Africa. Before we look at the next game, give us both, gents, give us both of your thoughts on India's all-round performance against the Proteas last weekend. Gaurav, how did you think it all went for them?
I mean, look, when India bat well, we're all accustomed to it. But when they bowl well and they field well, that's not something we are used to. So that's where I think credit needs to be given. I mean, I thought the first 10 overs, I think only three boundaries were hit and only one with real conviction when Amla hit, I think, the 57th ball of the innings. So that's something where I think it was pleasing for India. And, of course, the outfielding with the two runouts inflicted by one by Yadav and one by Mohit Sharma. I think that was the two standouts. I think we don't see that often because every time India bat well, as I said, we expect that. But when they field well, they surprise us. So I thought that was the standout against that game in South Africa.
Absolutely. And Abhishek, yourself, I mean, it was, as Gaurav mentioned, it was a very amazing fielding performance and bowling performance. Not something we always say with Team India. How did you think? How did you see it all plan out?
Yeah, I agree with Gaurav. We are used to this lineup being literally forced to post 300 plus totals each time, given the kind of bowling they've had in the past few years. But in as far back as I can go, I don't think I've ever seen an Indian side outfield South Africa. I mean, we grew up with the image of Jaunty Rhodes running out in Zawamulak in the '92 World Cup, and for an Indian side to consistently outfield South Africa over 50 overs, and for fast bowlers to effect game-changing runouts from the deep, I thought the AB de Villiers runout was a game changer. That is something we have very rarely seen from the Indian team, and even in the batting, I think for someone like Ajinkya Rahane to play the kind of shots he did, I don't think he's ever played an innings like that in a one-day before. So pretty rare stuff that we got to see from India in a very dominating performance.
And Gaurav, what do you put that down to? I mean, as we've all been mentioning, it's not something that you associate with with the Indian teams of the past. I mean, more recently we've certainly fielding has got a lot better. But I mean, what do you think that's come down to in the last few seasons?
Well, I mean, the fielding, I think the infielding's always been good. The surprising was the outfielding. I think inside the circles, there's always been, the constant flow of players started by, I guess, Yuvraj and Kaif all those years ago, and then the likes of, Rahane and the Kohlis and the Rhiners have come through. I think it's just the athletic ability of some of these players. I think they practice a lot. They play on these conditions where there's a bit of grass around. They can dive around. While most of the old generations are probably brought up on those maidans of India, as they call it, which is just blatant dirt. So, and there wasn't as that much emphasis on fielding. It was all about scoring the big runs. You would rather have a batsman who's capable of scoring 100 runs every occasion than somebody who scores 70 and then stops 30 runs in the field. So I think just the change of the game has probably produced that. There's lots of fielding coaches, and India's has watched the other teams and have realised that they need to follow to be at the top. They need to have an elite fielding team, and so that's good. Change that about. And as I said, fielding coaches and everything, and I think kids want to field well. I'm not sure about the generation 15, 20 years ago that they really want to be diving around. Probably not, but this modern generation of players, they know to be in the Indian team, they need to be good fielders, and that probably drives them even further.
Absolutely. So I guess you're saying it's a change of guard really for Indian cricket going forward. Now, moving forward to tomorrow's game, obviously India now moves on to Perth, which probably hasn't been the best hunting ground for them, apart from that famous Test victory. India first plays the first of two games in Perth tomorrow. First one against UAE, and then the Windies next week. How do you, Abhishek? How do you think this one will pan out? Obviously, we're all expecting India to win and win comfortably, but UAE have shown a bit of promise, and there's certainly a couple of guys who would potentially can trouble the Indian batsmen.
Yeah, who would have expected them to come so close to beating the Ireland and Zimbabwe? So, but what I'm looking forward to is seeing the UAE batsmen who've posted 280 in each match so far, seeing them go against the pace of Umesh Yadav and Mohammad Shami on this Perth wicket, which I can already see has a few cracks about, and it looks to be baking dry. So that will be an interesting battle. I would like to see how long they last. This will be a real test for them.
Okay, and Gaurav, from an Indian team perspective, is this a chance for them to maybe test the bench strength, or are they still not at that position yet and still go out with the best team and look to win the game comfortably?
Well, if it's not broken, why would you try to fix it? I think that's the philosophy, isn't it? I mean, you wouldn't think they should. I mean, the only consideration, given that they're playing in Perth, they might want to try out an extra bowler. But spinners get something out of Perth sometimes as well. There's that extra bounce, and I don't think MS Dhoni will want to slightly twinge with the lineup. I think whatever's going well is. And they've got three pace bowlers who can hit the deck hard, and that's been the impressive part about them. So I don't think there's a chance. I think India will stick to that same 11. They've got the combination going, and it gives the players an opportunity to bat at different stages. I think we saw that, after Raina came in the 20th over against Pakistan, everyone expected Raina to probably walk in against South Africa, but and given that he succeeded, but it was Rahane who came out. He got the opportunity and he took it. So. Perhaps that's the way. I don't think India will make any changes. Yes, the pitch is different, but I think this 11 they've got has a nice balance to it.
Okay, and Abhishek, what do you think Team India's mindset will be going to this game? I mean, obviously they're playing with a 30-year team. How does that affect the players' mindset? Do they go in thinking that the game is half won already, but obviously they don't want to be too complacent? How do you think they're going to be thinking about this game?
Well, all I can see from the way they've trained in these past 2-3 days, well, they haven't trained at all actually. I mean, they've had 2 off days, and on one of the days they had only fielding sessions. So I guess these will be their first nets after the South Africa game. So you can judge from that how relaxed and how confident they are after those 2 big wins. So, but I think India have already managed to enter that kind of rarefied space they do in ICC events. So I don't see them getting complacent at all. But on the other side, you could say that even India at 70% efficiency should be enough to get through tomorrow.
Okay, and Gaurav, do we see any changes for the UAE side? I mean, do they sort of stick with the same team and see how they can go against this Indian team?
You would think so. I mean, they've had a few bowlers go down with cramp the other night against Ireland, so let's see how they've recovered. But you think they'll stick with the same team? I mean, good thing for UAE is that they've just played on a surface which offers a lot of bounce, and that's in Brisbane. Yes, they didn't have the quality of bowling as probably India's would. As Abhishek said, there's Yadav and Shami who bowl 140 clicks, and there's probably no one with that in that category of pace from Ireland. So, but good thing is, as I said, they've played on a pitch that does something, which must be good for them. So it just really depends. Of course, they've travelled all the way from Brisbane to Perth. It's a bit of a jet lag. I'm not sure if that plays a part. So, and they're probably they played 100 over game literally, because they've 50 overs of concentration. You saw the concentration dip a little bit against the end overs against Ireland. So that's going to be the challenge for them. Are they really mentally, how much they drained out from that game? But if not, look, it's another game. I think you might just see a little dip in UAE in this game. I think they might be mentally drained from that outing against Ireland.
Okay, so to the actual result of the game itself, I think I think we're all on the same page. But I'll just quickly ask you boys anyway. Abhishek, how do you see this game panning out, and who do you think will be the standout player who will have a really good game?
Well, I agree with Gaurav here. I mean, they have to be mentally and physically fatigued as well. Day before they were playing in Brisbane, they've had a travel day across the continent of Australia, and they've had a full net session today. It's going to be tough. I mean, they are really amateurs. They are not used to such kind of traveling and scheduling. So India easily here, I see.
Okay, and Gaurav, I'm tipping you're on the similar lines.
I mean, you would have to think so. I just don't know. Let's hope UAE show up. I think that's a little bit of my concern for them. As you know, we've talked about a short turnaround. And if India probably put them into bat, or they bat first, then if a few fly through the shoulders, we might have an issue. So let's hope not. Let's hope they hang in there and we get at least a competitive game of cricket. But you'd expect India to dominate.
There you go. All right, gents. Thank you very much for your time. I'm not going to ask you about the predictions of the World Cup just yet. As this is a long tournament, we'll see how things go. Despite South Africa's performance on the weekend, I think we all expect them to bounce back further down the track and get back into contention. But that's all we have for now. As I said, India play UAE next in Perth in their third game. Hopefully, we don't see any upsets on the cards for Team India, and they should get through this game quite comfortably. Thank you very much once again for everybody listening on swamiarmy.com. Make sure you check out our Twitter, Facebook pages as well. And also, don't forget, we will have a similar march to the Wacker next week for the West Indies game. So stay tuned for all the details about that as well. As all of that, you can find all of that on swamiarmy.com. Thank you very much, Gaurav and Abhishek, for joining us as always. We'll speak to you, gentlemen, very soon, I'm sure. And for everybody else listening out there, hopefully Team India gets a win tomorrow against UAE and progresses on to the next game after that. We'll be back again very soon for the next game, and hopefully we'll see you then.